Hey everyone, I'm Natalie McCool and I'm here today with someone very special, Hattie Pearson.
Hello.
Hey, so Hattie is a DJ, radio presenter, events promoter, voiceover artist, manager. Basically, that's everything you do.
The list goes on, it does go on a little bit, doesn't it?
So the kind of reason behind this podcast is I wanted to speak to some really cool people who I've been working with. Just to let everyone know kind of about my life in music and who I work with and stuff like that. So could you please tell us a bit more about yourself?
You kind of summed it up in a nutshell, really. Predominantly, I'm a radio presenter, so I currently do a couple of weekend shows on Hits Radio, which used to be Q103, so we recently rebranded, relaunched as Hits Radio, so we're now a national station, digitally broadcasted all over the UK. Before that, I was at Radio X, which before that was XFM, so done lots of radio bits, and I've kind of freelanced at Six Music as well, doing some music news and producing there, and producing at BBC Breakfast, which was kind of where I first started out, BBC Radio Manchester as well. So radio is kind of my first and true love, I suppose. But then I DJ as well, club DJ, so I have my own club night, Girls on Film, which is every Saturday at the Deaf Institute in Manchester. It's an alternative 80s night. It's not like a cheesy cringe.
Sounds great. I have to come down.
Yeah, you need to come.
Yeah.
So that is crazy nuts to think that in September we'll have been going 6 years, which is just absolutely mad to think that any club night can go that long, let alone little old me. I always say I'll be like 90 still DJing 80s music, but 80s music will eventually go out of fashion, I'm sure, and the club night will come to an end.
It never will, you know.
Well, we'll see. But yeah, that's how I always know how long I've left since I left uni, because I left uni in the June or whatever, and I launched Girls on Film in the September. So I've been out of uni 6 years as of September, which is quite scary as well. Makes me feel old.
No, you do not look old. So I've worked with you a few times over the past couple of years. I think the first time was back in XFM days when you had me as Artist of the Day.
Yeah, it would have been. The weekend feature that I was doing.
Featured artist, yeah. So it's the first time I kind of spoke to you, and then you've booked me for quite a few shows, including the live show for your YouTube Matter of Sound with Emily. So
something else, YouTuber as well.
YouTuber.
Add to the many list of things, putting on gigs as well.
So it's really good to talk to you. I mean, I kind of forever in-depth conversations with other artists about just our little world, so it's really nice to speak to someone on the other kind of side. So I just wanted to kind of talk about what got you into DJing, radio presenting. I know you've touched on that already, but what was the one thing, or was it kind of a steady?
It was, at uni, I was doing student radio, Fuse FM, which is the student radio station at University of Manchester. So kind of just got involved that way, really, and then made some contacts. I think I went to like a workshop, and Jim Savilson, who was the producer of the XFM Breakfast Show in Manchester, was there, and I just said to him, can I take your email address? Can I come and do some work experience? And he was like,
brilliant.
Cool. And then I basically never left. I just kind of kept turning up. And they were like, you don't have to come in every week.
But you
and
do.
I was like, but I want to.
You have to make yourself indispensable, don't you?
Exactly. So that was, and then I think I just kind of found what I loved, and then got a few producing shifts at Six Music, and then it kind of just went from there. So I started out as work experience doing bits of assistant producing, and that's what I was doing at Radio Manchester as well. And then I won Best Female at the Student Radio Awards in 2012, which kind of gave me the leap to be able to say, okay, I'm a presenter, and this is what I'm going to do, rather than going down the producer route. That was it, and I haven't looked back since, really.
And you've also been doing a few things for Radio 1, like getting into that kind of world as well.
So with Radio 1, that was actually part of the Student Radio Award. So I did a one-off show with them, which was really exciting. And so there's not been anything since with Radio 1.
I am sure that something's going to happen, as I said to you last time.
You never know.
So I just want to talk a bit about the other stuff you do, because I feel like within what we do is like self-employed people within music, there's a lot of diversity in what we do. You know, like myself, I do like loads of stuff within music, and I'm sure you do within DJing. You know, there's like radio DJ, and then you do live DJing, but you also manage bands and artists.
Yeah, exactly.
Putting on your own events. So how important do you think that is within our lives?
Oh, I think it's huge. It's massive. Well, and for me, I think it's just a really sensible decision, because it's about fingers in pies. And when you're self-employed, anything could go. And it's the same with radio, really. You kind of have contracts, but really they're not worth the paper that they're written on from either perspective, really. If I wanted to leave at any point, I could just give a couple of months' notice, or I could just walk out like any job. And same, they could sack me, and they don't really owe me anything. So to me, it's about being secure and knowing knowing that I can pay the bills, basically. And just enjoying the variety of what I do. So I really love doing the voiceover work as well. That's always so varied, and it can be really, really random, and it can be really fun. Meet loads of great people doing that. The same with like the Matter of Sound, the YouTube videos and the content that Emily and I put out. And we've recently started working and collaborating with Ticketmaster. Just put out a couple of series. The new series is called Homecoming. So Emily and I are starting to use Matter of Sound rather than just a portfolio of us presenting and producing. We're actually kind of pitching to bigger platforms and making content ourselves. So we did a video with Bullet for My Valentine in Cardiff.
Wow.
And kind of went backstage with them, interviewed them, and then we did Fen Lily in Bristol as well. So they're more kind of like artistic documentary films. They're only like 3-4 minutes long, but that's the kind of content that Emily and I are, really proud of and really passionate about. So it's nice that we've been able to kind of move what we were doing on Matter of Sound, which was essentially, well, we always say it's just exploring Manchester and its music scene, whether that's festivals or backstage interviews or whatever it might be. So it's nice to be able to kind of have the freedom and to be able to have an idea and pitch it to somebody and it get commissioned, really. So and there's lots of other kind of podcast things that I have my fingers in, and like you say, artist management. I'm not actually managing anyone at the moment. Etches, the band that I was looking after, have sadly gone their separate ways.
Oh no!
I'm not sure if you knew that.
I didn't.
So unfortunately,
I loved them.
Yeah, they're great band, great guys, really sound, really lovely. I'm not managing anyone at the moment, which I think is kind of fine by me. I think there's enough fingers in
You've got enough, there's enough going on.
I think it's the main thing for me is just making sure that, if one thing kind of gives, then you've got a bit of security elsewhere, and it's fun that way.
Yeah,
it means that no day's the same, and
it's networking as well.
Yeah, exactly. My club night is great, and I love that, and the team that the venue, the Deaf Institute, they're owned by a company called Mission Mars, who are really, really great. They actually own Albert Hall, Albert Schloss, Gorilla, Trough. And there's a few others, I'm sure.
Basically everywhere.
So they're big. They're a big company in Manchester, and they know what they're doing, and they look after the people that work for them. So, and they're really creative and very forward thinking. So it's a real pleasure to work for them. And I always know that if radio did pack in tomorrow, that I could probably go knocking to them, and they'd find a home for me, because they're all really sound, and they're all really great people. So it's just nice to have a few different like fingers in pies and variety, really. I think the only thing is that I kind of feel like sometimes I'm not part of a team in a conventional sense to some degree, being self-employed.
You're kind of out there on your own, aren't
you?
Yeah,
and you can feel a bit isolated at times, but, I've been in the game 6-7 years now, so I'm kind of used to it, and I kind of enjoy it, and I don't mind the working evenings and weekends. I mean, it takes its toll sometimes, but when it's sunny like it is at the moment, I'm just sunbathing in the day. And like working in the night is fine. It suits me down to the ground.
Yeah, I always think like the week is my weekend, and then the weekend is my actual week.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people listening will be subscribed to playlists, whether that be Spotify or even YouTube, even create their own for personal use. So just interested in, from a DJ perspective, where there might be a lot of pressure on you to play certain stuff, certain tracks. How much control do you have in playing what you play?
So in terms of radio, I have no say, and that might surprise some people, but on a station like Hits Radio, a commercial hit music essentially station, it's all playlisted. We have a music team who do all the hard work for us, as it were. So I kind of turn up and I have a music log, and I have to stick to those exact songs. And if I'm running over time, I can maybe drop song, and I'll get told which song in that hour that I can drop, but I can't move things around. And I can't swap them out for other songs. So, and that is the case with all commercial. That's the same with Capital, with Heart, with any local commercial station. Absolutely. And even with Radio 1, Radio 2, those DJs, unless they're specialist DJs like Annie Mac or look at like the BBC introducing guys who get a bit of a pick, but they will still sit down with the music team and do a lot of collaborating on that. It would just sound so sporadic if it wasn't done that way. And there is a science behind it. Like we do testing with audiences to see how the music tests. So sometimes you'll be like, well, this radio station is playing loads of this specific artist. Why is that the case? And it's purely down to the fact that we put 200 people in a room and you play them songs and they go, yeah, we all really like this song. And you might think this sounds so repetitive, but that's how we do it. And there is a science to it, even though it seems a bit balmy, but that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
And then playlisting from a live point of view, when I DJ out and about, I mean, my 80s night is an 80s night. There's only so much 80s music. There isn't new 80s music being released. So I kind of have like a little
Stranger
pot.
Things soundtrack.
Yeah, exactly. Have a little pot that I can work from. Although the Stranger Themes, we did a Stranger Things theme, Girls on Film, a few months back, and it went down really well.
Yeah,
it was really busy, and we played. Yeah, and I played like a load of the Stranger Things stuff. So there's elements of it like that, and we can have a lot of fun with what we do. And it's not that tight, but there is a lot of 80s music, obviously. But there's also a lot of 80s music that people have never heard of. That if I played, it would just totally fall flat. I could play a lot of B-sides. Do you think though,
like, because it's got that 80s sound, so people might be like, oh, I don't know this one, but it's cool.
Maybe. I mean, there's enough of like the funk and soul and disco stuff for the 80s that you can get away with that. But there's a lot of rubbish.
Yeah, there is.
Like electronic.
That drum sound just makes you cringe a little bit sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of rubbish synth stuff from the 80s. So there's a lot of good stuff, but. But then it's nice when I kind of get random gigs as well, whether that's corporate DJ gigs or weddings or whatever, and then that's when I can play a bit of Bewitched and Spice Girls and like
fun.
And you can have a real fun with it then, and you kind of go from whatever the person that's kind of hired you says. Also, I'll have an idea of what I'm going to do. But I think I'll have to just kind of see what the crowd are like on the night as well. You can't be that hard and fast with it. You've got to play with the crowd a bit.
Do you know Ingrid Michaelson?
No.
She's like an American singer-songwriter. She's quite big, but she is weirdly doing an album inspired by the Stranger Things soundtrack.
Wow.
Called Stranger Songs.
Cool.
I just think that's amazing.
I'll have to check that out. That does sound epic.
I can't remember what genre. I think she's like poppy folk.
Okay, cool.
So that will be quite interesting.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting.
Because my next question actually was, do you think that the kind of control or lack of control in commercial radio DJing affects the other areas of what you do, but you just said, yeah, completely does.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just the nature of it, really. And lots of people often say to me, oh, well, like, don't you hate that? And I'm like, well, we can't all love our jobs 100% of the time. Like,
it's music.
Yeah, exactly. It's music, and it might not all be 100% to my taste. I'll happily hold my hands up to that. But, you know, even when I was at XFM, it wasn't all 100% to my taste either. So, you know, it is a job. It's my dream job. But, you know, there's got to be some downfalls. It's not perfect.
Yeah, definitely.
But equally, on the flip side of that, if I got total free reign, it would be an absolute nightmare. Like, it would be so tough. It would be so tough.
Sometimes
and the amount of work that would go into that would just be crazy. I mean, I covered John Kennedy, who does Exposure on Radio X, XFM, for like a 2-week stint when I was there. And it was probably the toughest show that I've ever done, because I got like 6 or 7 free plays within each hour. So the amount of prep that I had to go into each show in comparison to, you know, what I kind of do now, and it's a very different kind of radio, doing specialist music and, you know, having to know all the info on the artist, doing your research behind the artist, whereas the kind of radio that I'm doing at the moment is more entertainment, more content-led, more features. So I'm not saying I can turn up and wing it, but it's more about me telling my stories, you know, what have I been up to today, and bringing that to the audience and engaging an audience at that level. So it's a very different skill. Yeah.
That's so crazy, like, being on the radio, where you kind of, it's almost like if you were able to choose the tracks that you wanted to play, it would be like running a blog on the radio.
Yeah,
and a
absolutely.
blog is such hard work.
And nobody would. It would be so sporadic. Nobody would enjoy it. It would. It really, and that's why often community radio stations and, you know, smaller independent stations just sound so eclectic, and that's the beauty of them in so many ways, but that's why they often don't get many listeners, because the music, there's no continuity in it, and the audience don't know what to expect and get scared by it and go and find something else that's more predictable.
So I think we've got time for a few more questions. So I just wanted to ask you, being a DJ, how many live music shows do you go and watch? Is that something that you actively go?
I'm really rubbish at going to gigs.
So am I.
Yeah, I'm really rubbish at going to gigs. And it's more just, it's just time more than anything. Yeah. It's the fact that I work weekends for a start. So I physically can't go and watch shows. And it's also my job to sit and listen to music. So sometimes I just want to be at home and read a book or go and walk the dog. So I think it can be very consuming, and it can sometimes take the pleasure out of it. That's why I didn't study English literature at uni, because I was always worried that it would take the joy away from reading. So that's why I did English language.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was worried that being told that I had to read loads of books would, like, scare me into, and then I would be like, oh, I hate reading, and I never wanted that to happen. So that's why I studied English language instead. So I do sometimes feel, but I'm also in a very privileged position that I get invited to go to a lot of shows, and that I can get tickets to almost any gig that I want to go to. So it's a very privileged position to be in, and I'm so grateful for that. And it's always a joy to go to shows that have been recommended to me or that people have invited me to. So I certainly don't take that for granted. That's definitely an advantage to the job.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you so for me, like, if I hear a song on record and then I go and see it live, it has to be so much harder hitting for me to enjoy it. So I just wondered, for someone who listens to music every day on record, what would it take for seeing the same band doing that record live to really make an impact on you?
That is a really good question. I think for me, because I'm a very, like, visual, creative person anyway, I think when I go and see a show, there has to be something, you know, they have to have pulled the stops out in terms of production as well. So and to give it something different, you know, I think it's not necessarily easy for an artist to replicate what's on record, but I actually like hearing a track live that totally interprets the track in a different way. The fact that you can have so much fun with it when you're doing it live, I don't think that it's necessary to replicate it as it exactly is on the record. And that's the beauty of it. I think, you know, every just that every moment is different in life. Why would you want to do it exactly the same when you can share something different, or to pitch something up, or use a slightly different speed, tempo, or whatever. I think to the audience is much less predictable and more exciting, and that then it's a one-off unique experience.
Definitely.
So I'd say actually not recreating what's exactly on the record, is doing
Changing
something
it
a bit, changing it up and doing something that's a bit different and unpredictable.
Yeah, for me, like with my new stuff, I've just been absolutely hammering like how I can make it really interesting on stage, and we've literally got like 7-minute long tracks.
Nice.
With like extended intros and putting the bridge at the end, and it's just so much fun. Like I've never really delved into it before, but it's so important.
And I think it makes it more enjoyable for the artist. I mean, once you've sat in the studio and like just gone over and over and over the same tracks, like to get it perfect, which is obviously what you have to do for a record.
Yeah.
But I think then you can do whatever you want when you're live, and that's and that should, I think, be the selling point for tickets, is that people know that they can come and they'll experience something totally different,
something new.
Yeah.
So I mean, when I'm watching kind of, I don't know, Glastonbury or like a commercial festival on TV, and when a pop artist comes on and sings to a track, I'm like, no.
Yeah, it's pretty poor.
It's poor. You've got to have at least a live drummer. Yeah. Because the drums is just important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's lazy, and I just don't understand why you would do it.
You've got the budget. Just you're on the main stage. Take a live band.
Yeah.
Make it good.
I mean, if you're not capable of doing that, then you shouldn't be. You shouldn't.
Yeah. I almost think like it's kind of just something on the side for them, like the record. It's all about the record and Spotify and whatever, YouTube, and then I've got to go and do it live, and I'll just do backing track because I don't know how to do it any other way.
Well, I think a lot of fans see through that as well. Yeah. Once they do kind of do shows like that, you kind of think, okay, it's not what I was expecting, or they clearly can't replicate that.
Yeah. I remember. Did you see Lord's Glastonbury set?
No.
It was amazing. It was she did have elements of a live band, but it was mostly track. But what was really interesting is she had a glass box like behind her, and in it she'd recreate scenes like from the songs with dancers and amazing. Like lights, and then at the end it would tilt from side to side. Amazing. So it was like on kind of this metal stilt thing. Yeah. And then it opened and they all tumbled out and then got on stage and danced around her, and it was just
wicked. I think
absolutely amazing.
Production is really important for me. I think you've got that opportunity to give the audience and your fans, a totally new experience that they can't, the whole visual aspect on a record is totally your imagination. Yeah. So once you're there and you're in front of an audience, you can really build that story and like imprint your experience and how you've your perception of the record and what you're trying to perceive. You can really put that in the audience's mind. So I think it's a wasted opportunity if you don't. Really.
If you don't, especially if you someone like Lord, if you've got the budget, you can totally do it.
Exactly.
I'm just figuring out how I would do it on basically no budget. So I've just got a few mini final questions. Okay. So, do you have any pre-DJ gig or pre-radio show rituals you'd like to do?
I don't. And I don't. I don't think it's necessary. And I'm not, I mean, obviously I get nervous, but it's, I think I'm not very superstitious about stuff like that. So I just
get
kind
in and do it.
Just take a deep breath and kind of crack on. And I always think, nobody died. I'm not a heart surgeon. I'm not an astronaut or like a physicist or something. Like, if I press the wrong button or if I crash the vocals on a song or if I miss an ad break, nobody died. Yeah. And so, like, what's the worst that can happen? I get an angry email from my boss being like, you missed the ad break. I'm like, I'm really sorry.
I love the voice. You missed the ad break. It's such a managerial voice.
I get a lot of emails saying you missed the ad break. That's me talking too much.
Okay, what single night out has been most memorable for you?
A night out?
A night out, yes.
Oh, God.
It can be part of a gig that you've done or something that you've been doing for DJing or work or whatever?
Oh, that's a tough one. Okay, I'll think of something that just popped into my mind. It might not be the top one, but I really enjoyed playing Manchester International Festival a couple of years ago, and it's not on this year, so it'll be on next year, and I really hope I get asked to play again. It was just a really great crowd, and I think it just showed Manchester International Festival is just an amazing festival that just showcases loads of incredible talent from all walks of life, theatre, music. It's just wonderful. And I DJ'd the tent at Pavilion Square in Albert Square, and it was just ace. The crowd were nuts, and it was probably one of my favourite DJ gigs that I've ever done, actually. And Dave Haslam was kind of booking the DJs, and he asked me to...
Legend.
Yeah, he is a legend. And he asked me to DJ, so I went along, and then I had Dave Haslam breathing down my neck as I was DJing, so, like, no pressure.
Oh,
and I was like, you can't stand
he's
there,
a lovely guy,
DJ.
though, isn't he?
He brought me
nice.
some biscuits,
Yeah.
he brought me some bourbons and some custard creams and some peppermint tea.
That's so nice.
Whilst I was DJing.
That's so random, like
but
biscuits.
Yeah, I had a really good night that night, actually,
Yeah, I would have thought beer, but biscuits is cool.
Yeah, Dave is all about the peppermint tea.
If you could eternally be stuck in one year's music scene, which year would it be? I think it'll be the year from the 80s.
Yeah, it's got to be. I think it's got to be something from the 80s. Although I must admit, I was only born in November '89, so it's not... I'm only just in the 80s. So it's not my era. I didn't grow up with the 80s at all. The 80s, the club night came because I saw that there was nobody doing it in Manchester, and I was like, there's a gap in the market here, I'll do it. So it was a business thing. It wasn't necessarily a passion thing, and then it kind of evolved into that. So, yeah, I would probably say something like 86 or 87, something a bit later on, or maybe even like 88, because then you get kind of the hip hop and the electronic stuff and all of the kind of really groovy stuff and like early house stuff that you kind of get in the early 90s as well. So yeah, late 80s I'd say.
Okay, late 80s. Cool. So what is one track that never gets old for you, no matter how many times you hear it?
Jermaine Stewart, You Don't Have to Take Your Clothes Off.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I literally play it every DJ set I do. Love it.
Yeah.
It's great.
What a lifting chorus, like. Do you watch Game of Thrones?
I don't.
No, that was my final question. What's your favourite Game of Thrones character?
Who's the guy? Oh, no, I won't. I interviewed him.
No, you interviewed one of them.
Yeah, but I don't know what his name is because I'm not into it.
Was
he was in
English
the Circle
or
Waves
American?
music video.
Was he English or American?
English. Little kid, about 18, 19.
I'd
recognise his
name.
Was
it Bran?
Yeah.
From
him.
there. Really?
I've met him. So him, because he's the only one I know. I interviewed him because he was in the Circle Waves music video.
Okay.
And I did a thing with Vivo, and Vivo, I was presenting this video for Vivo, and we went backstage of the making of Circle Waves music video. So I had a chat to the guys from Circle Waves and Bran.
That is cool. He's like central character.
Okay, well him then.
Big.
He's my favourite Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he's cool.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing. Yeah, no worries. It was great. So yeah, thank you, Hattie. And I'll be back next month with another podcast with somebody else. I don't know who yet, but we'll find out. Thank you, Hattie.
Thank you.
I think you're a man.